Hello, everyone. Welcome back to StarSound Speaks. Irlianna Samsara here, and I am so overjoyed because Vanessa Montgomery is joining us from Australia. Hello, Vanessa. Welcome back.
Hi, Irlianna. Thanks for having me on, and hi, everyone. Thanks for listening. Thanks for tuning in.
Love your new glasses. Gold. You're wearing gold. I'm wearing purple. Sag season.
Exactly. And I've got the sari that I bought in India. I've got a Japanese kimono behind me. I'm doing all the Sag things.
Oh, I love it. Yes, very international. Oh, totally. I love it.
Here from Australia, you're there in the US.
And yes, and I see your Himalayan salt lamps.
Yeah.
Because why not? Oh, by the way, for those of you who are new to the channel, Vanessa and I, we are like the fire sisters, Leo, Sag, and so we just bounce, fly, everything, just all things fire. So, if you need some warming up, you have come to the right place. Anyway.
It's true. And some levity, some buoyancy.
Yes, and hope and courage and optimism and faith and yes, all those right. Things.
We'll keep it positive then. We'll keep it positive.
And I just also, by way of introduction, Vanessa is the astro columnist for Glamour Magazine, and she also hosts the Cosmic Eye podcast. It's a monthly forecast on Astro University. So in case you think, oh, I know her from somewhere. She's also written now 3 books, but 2 of the books are, well, they're all out right now. In the US, we have her latest one. It's not going to be officially out in the United States till January, but you can order it, she told me, through another, the book depository. But anyway, yes. Let me just introduce the titles. It's Star Power is the first one, Cosmic Power, and now the third one is called Astro Power, a simple guide to prediction and destiny for the modern mystic. And I got the links below for all 3 books. So yay. Oh my God. And I'm of course, what a nerdy me, I had to pull up my chart because Amazon said in the US it was launching January 17th. And it's like the sun is conjunct Pluto in Capricorn. I'm like, that's so Vanessa, like we're going to transform and we're going to set this thing down for the ages, Here it is.
Exactly. We're going to own our power.
Yeah. And, and I love too, I really acknowledge you for the, for all of us, but certainly the LGBT community, is that you are really leaning in with your books, and probably even more so with the new one, about leaning into the gender fluid, non-binary experience and the feminine, the planets and the asteroids that are feminine, and just bringing that to the table, which is really awesome.
I suppose I would say it's really about, finding equality and that, the intersection of things. So speaking to women, non-binary people, however you identify, not writing everything as he and male and splitting the genders. Like they can all be she, they can all be he, they can all be neutral, because they're all parts of ourselves. So really, like, people write God in their own image. So it's men that have been writing it. So it's a male God. It's like, for us, we can project our own identity onto these planets. You don't have to follow what someone else has prescribed. So I go more with that. So for women, being female doesn't mean being feminine. It means being your whole self, which is not feminine or masculine as everything, which is also non-binary, but then you're still going to have binary things within you. So I'm really speaking to that.
The inclusivity of all of it. Yeah.
Yeah. And so you can be your whole self. Like I see a lot on the interwebs about being your whole self. Well, what does that really mean? So being your whole self is not trying to identify, I think, with what you're supposed to be in a role, like what is feminine and what's femininity. It's kind of meant to be subordinated. It's meant to be a lot of negative things, but also really great things, but we're all the things, not just that. So if you've got a lot of fire and air, you're not really going to relate.
Yeah.
And some of the, the biggest bosses I know, one is a Pisces.
One of the biggest bosses,
Yeah.
Wow.
My most successful friend, she's such a boss. She's a Pisces. But then she has Moon in Aries, Venus in Capricorn, Mars in Sagittarius. So
gets it done. Yeah.
Gets it done. Yeah. Yep. Exactly. So
oh, go ahead.
Yes. Oh, I was just going to say, so today we're going to talk all about
Yeah.
Gemini, Mars.
Mars, yeah. I mean that we just had that outrageous full moon. Now you couldn't see it either in our part of the world. We weren't able to, according to the sky map that I was looking at. But I don't know. I saw Mars very close, and then it disappeared for a while. So I don't know what they're talking about. It's so confusing. But Mars is retrograde and out of bounds in Gemini, so there's a lot of confusion. It was amazing though. It was really. I mean, I put out an email to everybody before to my email list, and I said, hey guys, I just feel to pray for Brittany Griner. She's really been in my heart, and I've been lots of prayers, and just this is and the where the Mars eclipse happened, it started in the Pacific Ocean and it ended right near like where she was in the prison camp, and it was like, wow, that's crazy. And you know what?
Did you look up her chart?
No, I never did. But I know what I thought was interesting was also that Pearl Harbor, the anniversary of Pearl Harbor was yesterday at the same day. And here you have, that eclipse path began in the Pacific, not right next to Hawaii, 1,000 or more miles away, but the fact that it started there and it ended in this, I just thought that was pretty cool. But,
okay, so I've just looked up her chart to see if she had anything that was getting picked up by that moon, since that announcement just happened. And she has Mars in Gemini at 14 degrees.
oh my goodness, look at that.
So the full moon was at 16 degrees. So she's gotten that release. There's no birth time. She's got a whole bunch of planets in Libra, 1, 2, 3, 4, very tight stellium, Moon, Sun, Mercury, Venus. So quite a bit of air. But yeah, that Mars, she got released. That's interesting, isn't it? Right. Over the retrograde. So Mars is still retrograding. So perhaps there's more to the story. So keep an eye on what happens to Brittany actually once that Mars comes back and picks up her Mars again. Right, which will be sometime in I want to say maybe March-ish or so, when it gets back to that degree. Yeah. And I'm also just sending lots of light and prayer to Paul Whelan. He's an American who's been in a Russian, I want to say it's a labor camp for the last 4 years. He was convicted on these baseless claims of him spying, and it wasn't true. And they've been trying for years to get him out. And they were trying to do the prisoner swap for both of them, Brittany and Paul, but they were only able to get her out. Right. But at least Brittany's wife at the press conference at the White House, she said, look, we're still praying for, our hearts go out to Paul's family. And my wife and I were going to really fight for his release, in the days to come. So it's like, oh, sad. I just cried when I read that. It was like, wow, yeah. It's pretty full on. It's always interesting to look at these big stories, isn't it? To see what other headlines, who's making the headlines, and just checking their chart. Like I was thinking with the whole Twitter thing and Elon Musk, I'm pretty sure most people would have heard about that whole scenario. Right. I just think Twitter is so Gemini. And so I thought, I wonder if Elon Musk has anything in Gemini that's getting picked up by this Mars retrograde. And so he's a Cancer sun, but he's got Venus in Gemini. And I'll just bring up his chart as well. I think that's around possibly 14 as well. Right. 19. So Venus at 19 degrees. So this has also picked this eclipse. Sorry, this full moon also picked that up, but the Mars retrograde hits that. And it's interesting that he also has this intention of colonizing Mars. Right. Do you think? Speaking of Mars retrograde, so and out of bounds. And yes. Right now the moon and Venus are out of bounds. So, and then you got Kanye praising Hitler. And Mercury. Talk about live coverage of chaos. I think Mercury is also out of bounds at the moment. Is Mercury also? So we've got Mercury, Mars, Mercury, Venus, and the moon are all out of bounds. And Mars in, I think the thing is Mars is in mischievous trickster Gemini. This is like the extra spanner in the works. And I think it's that thing of, you think like all the keyboard warriors are out. I had people just attacking me on Instagram yesterday. It's like it's turning into Twitter. And I just said, look, I don't know why you're going for a dust up or trying to have a fight. I'm just here because this is a natural health farm site. I'm not looking for a fight. It's just got that Twitter vibes, which is one of the reasons I always avoided Twitter. And I just think you can't, there's no point winning. There's no point fighting because you're probably not going to win. It's interesting to see Elon come in with something swaggering about, and then there's all these people they're so funny. The sense of humor is hilarious, but you can't win. And then he'll come back with something that he's managed to not let it affect him, and he'll get one up on that, and it just continues. So we'll see what is going to come of. I think that there's a lot more to the Twitter situation because of the retrograde. It could really end up somewhere quite different.
By the time
we think.
Right.
Yeah.
What is it going to be? Middle of I'm just checking my charts here. The retrograde of Mars is going to be, I think, January 12th. It'll station direct at 8 degrees of Gemini. And that's exactly, I don't know not that you would know the USA chart, Vanessa, but the USA has Uranus at 8 degrees of Gemini. Station right on that. In the 7th house, which mundane is about other countries, neighboring countries. Well, look, Queen Elizabeth died. The woman, I can't remember her name. She was in and out, the prime minister, in 6 weeks. She was gone, and then now Peru's president or prime minister got ousted yesterday. So there's all these, our countries, other countries, changes of leadership. But it's just very, very volatile. But the last time, and I have to look up the exact degree, but the last time Mars stationed direct around this particular degree point, Putin became prime minister or president or whatever the heck they called him. So I'm wondering that maybe we'll see him get the boot or step down or some kind of change in leadership. And I think
it's funny.
I heard he had an eclipse on his ascendant. Did you know that?
I didn't know, but I actually interviewed my second astrology teacher, Stella Starwoman, aka Woods, and that's the current one on my podcast at the moment. And I asked her to give a couple of predictions, and so one was actually about Putin, and we're talking about the Saturn cycle because I learned that from her. It's in this new book, so I really wanted to give her that credit. And she said, well, it's interesting. With his Saturn cycle, it suggests it's not looking great for him. So then you get all these other circumstances, and it just makes a compelling story that's not looking positive for him. But for the US, and maybe there'll be a swapping of alliances. Maybe another country will arc up and, try to pick a fight. Or maybe the US will try to pick a fight, which is the usual way the US works.
Pick a fight.
Or maybe it's internal because there's just so much unrest there at the moment. I'm just trying to look it up here, and I thought I had this about. When Mars out of bounds ends in when it ended at, I have this in my notes, in April 25th in 2008, in the aftermath of the last of this Mars, of the certain Mars out of bounds in Gemini. In the aftermath, that's when Medvedev was sworn in as the third president of the Russian Federation, and he appointed Putin as prime minister. So there's another cycle there. So there, of course, as we know in astrology, there's many different planets chiming in. But the Saturn cycle that your teacher talked about, and then you've got this and the Mars and where it plays out in the USA chart. So there's definitely some undercurrents here of change, and then we've got Saturn changing signs into Pisces, and oh my goodness, March. There's a lot happening. So the other thing I was noticing that was really capturing a lot of headlines and the mischievousness was Kanye West, who is now Ye. And so I'm like, I might look up his chart and just see what's happening there. And he is a Gemini. So no surprise.
You're so funny
Yeah.
with your Australian accent. You said yay. We say ye, but you know you're from
Oh, it's
Australia.
ye. Well, I haven't heard, I'm not
Yeah,
really
yeah,
sure how to
yeah.
pronounce it. So I was
I
just,
know. I'm
yeah.
just
Oh, so
like I
it's
don't. I
ye.
don't say
Okay.
it. I don't
Kanye.
say
Well,
it.
I think because
Anyway.
his name's Khan. Is it Kanye or Khan?
Oh yeah, you're right. Kanye
So
West.
that's why I said
But then
yay.
when it
Yeah.
just shortened to yay, yeah, ye.
Ye.
I don't know. Maybe I could be wrong. I don't know. But yeah. Anyway,
Ye.
yeah.
Yeah. Let's just
Total
call him
chaos.
Kanye. So he's got Jupiter conjunct the sun in Gemini. So this Mars retrograde's really hitting him, and he's losing quickly and fast. And it's like he's doesn't realize, keeps trying to push the boundary like a baby, and finally people have given him that boundary, I think. So
Yeah.
that story is not over yet either, because that Mars is still retrograding. So these are the ones to keep an eye on. Someone else, I just thought, it's always interesting to find the celebrities because we can see it playing out, people in our own life as well and in your own chart. But so who else is a strong Gemini placement? And I thought of Janelle Monáe. She's a sun in Sag, moon opposite in Gemini. So she's just had a new movie out called Knives Out, Glass Onion,
Oh,
or
right.
Glass Onion Knives Out series, which I went to see. And interestingly, she played, I hope this isn't a spoiler. Don't don't listen to this little bit if you haven't seen it. But she plays twins.
Oh, okay.
She plays twins, and moon in Gemini, that Mars. So she's out spruiking that at the moment, as she gets this sun moon opposition that does conjunct her sun and moon, not exactly, but pretty close. It does tie her into it. So I feel like let's watch this story while Mars is going backwards and going to go forwards again over her moon opposing her sun, and it's all positive for her. So just to balance it out, let's see what happens.
And Mars is gonna, even though it'll go station direct in January, it's not gonna leave out of bounds till Cinco de Mayo, May 5th. That's crazy.
Crazy.
Oh my
It is
God.
crazy.
It's not
And
over in January.
It's not over till it's over. But yeah, it's just so mischievous and it's mutable. So we're getting all this crazy expression.
And air,
so
right? The media, the news media, the backtracking of narratives,
switching. So it's funny, because it's archetypal themes. I think once you start to tune into something as well, obviously you're going to see more of it. So that's always interesting to see, what your consciousness starts to pick up. And something that I saw yesterday was hand talk. It was like before what's sign language called? ADL, ASDL?
Oh, yeah. American Sign Language?
ASL? American Sign Language. Oh, I didn't know what that stood for.
I don't know.
Yeah, so before that, Native American Indians they called it hand talk. And they called it, it's just something that popped up, and I thought, gosh, that's so Gemini, talking with your hands, right? Communicating with your hands, because Gemini rules hands, arms and shoulders. So it's called hand talk, and I found a really great little video on it. And there's old video of Buffalo Bill interview. I think it's talking to an Indian guy, I'm thinking probably the chief, in front of a beautiful teepee in this old black and white film. And you've got someone else that called a big what would you call it, kind of like a conference to film the language, because they're saying hardly anyone, or that he was saying this is going to die out, and he was right. Not many people still know how to do it, but it's still there. So that is called, and also at the time, because a lot of tribes obviously had different dialects or different languages, so this was a unifying way. And even with the hand talk, there was variations, but there was a group led by, or a big mover in that, Alexander Graham Bell, who invented the telephone,
right?
They had a group called the Oralists, and they tried to shut down the Indian Sign Language. So it was called ISL, Indian Sign Language. And there was the most used one was called the Plains Indian Sign Language, so PISL, which is still there. There's people that still know this. You can look it up, you can learn it.
That's
very interesting. And Yeah, and this is partly where American Sign Language came from. So there's symbols that are the same or very similar. So it influenced.
Wow.
Right.
Good
So yeah,
research, girl.
so Alexander Graham Bell and his oralist groups tried to shut down and get rid of hand talk. Isn't that crazy? And of course you can think, well, the guy invented the telephone. He doesn't want people using sign language because
Right.
it doesn't support it. It like
Right.
opposes his
Conflict
business.
of interest. Oh my
Conflict
goodness.
of interest. It's so selfish.
That's
Anyway,
crazy. Oh my goodness.
hilarious. So I thought that was an interesting one for our chat. And just for me, I watched a couple of the videos and read some articles, and yeah, fascinating.
Yeah.
I love
Language
watching.
is dying out too, would be in this current cycle of Mars retrograde. That I remember reading, and it was really sad, not that this was Mars retrograde, but during COVID, and how it slammed the Native American reservations, and that so many these old people that were so sick and died, and they had the language, they still were the carriers, and at least one tribal language went extinct. It was really
Wow.
sad, but maybe some new ones can, new languages emerging. I mean, there's all kinds of possibilities. But anyway, it's interesting too with Mercury, and now it entered Capricorn, which is going to, go into shadow next week. Actually, on Monday, our time, Mercury enters the shadow at 8 degrees of Capricorn. And then it'll go to retrograde at like around the 28th, end of the month. That's going to be interesting, because now I have hope for, maybe there's some agreements that can be revisited politically with it in Capricorn. So I'm thinking about Paul Whelan and others, other political conversations, that can get revisited. And because it's exactly with Venus, so there's loyalty, it's, and agreements and loyalty at play in society and government, and politics. So wow,
Very interesting. Yeah, watch this space, right? Anything could happen.
anything,
There's
right?
Yeah, there's so much going on in so many countries. Indonesia, did you see that? They just banned extramarital sex.
Yeah, like if you're an American tourist and you go to Indonesia and they catch you, shagging somebody, you go to jail. It's like,
even if you're with your partner that you've been with for 50 years, but you're not married.
yeah, you're automatically
you're in jail for a year if they catch you.
The morality
Crazy.
police. But the good news,
dream killer.
I heard that in Iran, the morality police, there were reports that it was abolished. They got rid of. Do you think the country won't stop? Nobody's backing off with the hijab thing,
Yeah, it's incredible. And the boys have gotten in on it too, because it's also a bigger issue. And I'm so happy to see that, because a lot of rights that women have, it's mostly been women fighting for those and in the trenches and on the lines. And this is it looks like the whole country's just in this fight, and that's the way it's going to get through. It's very interesting times. I mean, we've still got the Saturn Uranus in orbs, that square, but with these extra players on the scene, that Mars retrograde out of bounds, the other planets out of bounds, we're more likely to get something out of the box and get out of that lane or rut. And then people pulling it back, like Indonesia. It's crazy.
Right. Yeah, it's that tug of war that goes from one extreme to the other.
Backlash. It's that backlash that just want things to be how it was and don't want that progressive change. But that's that square too, isn't it? The Saturn versus the Uranus.
Right.
You're going to get both.
Yeah.
Yeah, like keep it how it was. We don't want change. And then, oh, yes, we do. Oh, yes, we do.
And we're gonna institute it and put it in our government, which in our country, we actually had to have passed legislation, and it did pass both houses of Congress. Very exciting news that guaranteeing the right to same-sex marriage. So they got both a bipartisan approval, and it's now law. So the Supreme Court can't take that away. Like the Supreme Court basically was saying, like those conservative justices, they were gonna go after Roe Wade. They were going to go after gay marriage, and so thank God that at least came up and got handled pretty quickly. Like, no, No, you're not.
So great to hear, because it's always the same story with, you know, that conservative, I guess you could say sort of patriarchal shutdown. It's always the same things: come after the gays, come after women's rights and freedom and autonomy. It's the same things always. And of course, then it would move on to shutting down other religions as well, you know, minority religions from the dominant. It's because it's all from a religious place. Country.
So
absolutely. Yeah, it's that, yeah, also add in that white supremacist sort of thing. Yeah. So I'm so happy to hear that. So that's just happened on the full moon. Very interesting.
Yeah. All this
real
coming
positive. Real positive. That full moon did have a couple of really great trines. So the sun was trining retrograde Chiron, and the full moon was trining Saturn in Aquarius. So I'm thinking it's that Saturn that went into, you know, it went into law, its stability. I did think there were a few things that were really going to stick from this. And then it was in the T-square, of course, with Neptune.
Right.
Yeah, I was wondering what will happen there. I could see it here out my window, you know, at evening, not the actual moment, because that was during the day. It was about 2:30 p.m. here. So, but yeah, the moon coming up looked amazing. I saw online there's a guy with a telescope that makes beautiful astrological pictures, and he was taking photos of it with the little Mars in there. Beautiful photos. I reposted some of them. Yeah, it was gorgeous. It was really big.
You can see it cross in these videos online, these astronomical websites.
And they just look great. It's so worth
the scenes.
It's so worth doing that. It actually got really gusty. Sometimes I think in air, dominant air times, is it going to be windy? And we had blowing a gale here. It's still a bit windy today. Just kind of came out of nowhere. Hilarious. And with lightning and everything in the sky kind of sparking things off with the Mars.
You know, I was going to say next week, Wednesday, our time, late in the day, probably Thursday in your time zone, we have the sun. I'm looking at the weekly astro weather because have me make a second podcast? We'll just cover it with you right now in this moment. Mercury entering the shadow. We talked about that, but now the sun's Wednesday into Thursday, your time zone, sun will square Neptune, the sun in those late degrees of Sag squaring Neptune. Wow. So talk about Neptune overcoming. So, Sag overcoming, so that you could, you know, my wish and hope is like the truth will prevail over any kind of possible deception and fraudulent schemes and things maybe being exposed. I don't know, what is your take on Sun square Neptune?
Well, I'm just looking at it now. I mean, Neptune's been squaring Venus and Mercury that have moved through that square now. They're coming up now to square Jupiter in Pisces. So actually, I think the sun will continue on themes that have already sort of been going with these planets moving through. And I was looking out for that. And one of the things I thought was interesting that I just saw trending really hard on Instagram, because I love Instagram. So was the Lensa app. Lensa. Have you heard of that? I've noticed they've been doing a lot of advertising on there. So I've seen it and it's just like, oh, that looks interesting, but I don't want more apps or to pay for them. So Lensa app is an AI image making, text to image pairing app, and they've been around for a couple of years already, but they've just released a new feature, which is what's it called? I've written it down here. Oh no, I haven't. Anyway, it does portraits. So what it does to make those portraits is draw from a data set of 5 billion text image pairs, and you write text of what you want, and it will give you some options. Actually, I'll just find where I wrote here. It is.
Can you say that again about text? You
type in text, you say what you want. So you might say, like, give the style that you want. You might say you want it to look spacey or with a space background or with Jupiter in the background, in the style of Van Gogh, and it will do it. And it's
Wow.
actually, so people have been posting all these portraits from the Lensa app, and some of them are just beautiful. They're really gorgeous renderings. And then there's people that are saying, well, the data sets this is drawn from, it's all from the internet, from the web, and it's just pillaged the web. The artists aren't getting paid for that. There's a circumstance where one particular artist, the day after he died, his style was pillaged with no permission. They don't make money from it. So I looked into it because I thought, well, this is interesting with that square, with the sun in this full moon, because the sun is like the portrait, the self.
Sure.
So I felt like it really drew all of this in. And so the company that makes it is called Stable Diffusion AI. And diffusion is a very Neptunian Pisces word.
Right. Diffusion. Right.
And but it's stable diffusion, which is interesting with that Saturn kind of in that full moon mix.
Right.
They draw from, it's open source. So it's kind of like, well, maybe there is a shadow side to open source because everyone just gets pillaged and no one owns anything except the person that's extracting and then putting a price on it. So the company's making money. It's egalitarian because you can get some freebies or it's really cheap. And most people can't afford an amazing artist to do their portraits, can they? Right.
Yeah.
Or afford the time if you are creative. Like I can make things, but do I have the time to do everything? No. So it brings up a lot of ethical questions. And I think it really exemplifies that there's real positives and real pitfalls. It's not just one or the other. So it's called text prompt engineering, the way that it pairs text to image. It's trained on 5 billion images. So, but you can set it to someone's style, and I think that's where it could be a problem. You can. I'm just looking at what else I've written here. I just think the name. So magic avatars. That's what it's called. Magic avatars.
Yeah.
So there's a Neptune as well, the magical.
Neptune and Pisces, magic avatars.
Yeah. So this is like that Mercury Venus going through, and Mercury Venus being conjunct, it's text Mercury image pairs Venus. Like
right.
It just really bell curved. It's been sitting there for a minute. It's just really bell curved on this full moon. The moon, it's like the moon triggered it.
Yeah. Everybody's
something
on it now.
Yeah, it's full moon. Everyone's putting their avatars up, and like a series of them, not just one. It's a multiple for these mutable signs, multiple with the Gemini. And I thought that was fascinating, and it just more fascinating looking it up and thinking about the ethics of it, all the ethics. Right. Yeah. And then of course, they own your images. And it was making me think about the filters, say, on these apps. Like I love using filters. I did a little chat on Instagram with a filter that gives me little butterflies and there's little clouds. I thought that was very Gemini. It gives me lip gloss, does my makeup. And I was thinking, some people really crush people that use the filters, and there's real problems with filters, obviously, affecting women wanting to get then plastic surgery to look like their filtered self.
Right. Yeah.
However, I was thinking, well, if these companies own your image, if you use their product, and if whatever you put online is then open to being extracted and sourced, open sourced, which this is where we're headed. We're not headed away from that. We're headed directly into whatever you put onto the net. There will be a capability of AI to use that. I already think about all the writing I put on there is just going to be sourced and used, like all the astrologers that are putting work on there. I think that AI is going to get to a point where it'll do your horoscope. It'll do great astrology for you because it's already a system. So it can use a system. So anyway, I digress. So I was thinking, well, if we're sitting there putting our image on, AI is going to be able to take from that image. So I'd rather not have how I actually am and have something that's not quite looking like me. So if it's going to get sourced and used for something else. Also, people can use these apps to, obviously people are making porn. There's ones that can undress you, but it only works on undressing women.
Oh,
so there's a real
gee.
dark side to it. And it can,
Holy.
it can put you in some pretty derogatory situations, violent situations. That technology is just going to get better and better. So if you're a celebrity, that's how people are going to be using it for you. There's a real dark side to it, if you
Very
ask
dark.
me.
Yeah.
And I hadn't thought about that till I just started digging in yesterday and thinking about it more and doing some just research on seeing where it's all at and thinking about where it would be headed.
Yeah.
Based on our culture and society informing that and the level of respect for women, etc.
Well, and then Pluto entering Aquarius, AI
Yes.
with Aquarius.
AI, it's all about AI. Absolutely. And you don't even need astrology to know that. You can just look around and the astrology is absolutely supporting that. So really positive side, really negative side. The whole spectrum, is just how we use it.
Yeah.
That counts. Yeah. So out of bounds. I'm wondering how people are experiencing these out of bound planets in their own chart. What part of your life? Where is it for you, Irlianna? Where's the Mars?
Ninth house.
In the ninth.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
You have a breakout.
A breakout, yeah.
In your videos and socials and podcasting. That's all very ninth house.
Yeah, very much. And teaching, it's teaching this class and it's definitely a reassessing, stepping back. I'm playing. There's a lot that it's fun. It's fun. I'm so far so good. It's not been too crazy for me, it's been pretty positive, but it's like, but you look out in the world and you see, Kanye and talking about the Jews and Hitler and
my
God, like
his black stocking on his head.
Could it get any worse? Like really, like totally off the rails, literally, figuratively off the rails, but I'm looking at, I'm just thinking about next week, this coming, not like a week from now, Saturday the 17th, and Sunday your time, the 18th, Mercury is going to be overcoming a trine to Uranus and Taurus. It's interesting, just kind of switching gears here for a minute. Mercury overcoming trine to Uranus. I wonder how that could, maybe there's some sensibility that'll be knocked into people's heads around all this change. I don't know. Mercury in Capricorn, it's like getting a little serious and looking at you talked about Lenza, maybe looking at the long-term effects of all this radical change in values and the internet and, like planning and strategizing and, being more particular around these solutions. I'm just wondering.
Yeah, well, I was just writing the next week's horoscope last night writing next week's horoscope for Glamour Magazine. So that's what I was thinking as well, and writing into that was just thinking long term. There's a bit longer term, a bit more longer range, getting a bit more sensible, through Sag, it's just, there's no filter. It's that sign doesn't have sensible. Not sensible. It doesn't have a filter, and it's not built with brakes, right? It's just built with an accelerator, and
it's just the gas pedal, no brake pedal.
Just a gas pedal. That's right. And so the brake is built into Capricorn. Yeah, the long term. I think things could. I mean, the Mercury's still out of bounds. I have to check. I've got it here, actually. It's out of bounds till the 21st of September. So it's still a little bit, who knows, but that could be who knows in a great way, a really interesting way.
How long is it out of bounds till?
I've written down, maybe I should check that. It's out of bounds 23rd of November to the 21st of December.
Oh,
They're quite long runs. They're quite long runs.
Yeah.
Which is partly why Sagittarius season's so off the hook, and this year particularly off the hook. Silly season just got crazy.
Sillier, right?
But yeah, I agree. It's still a somber and sober sign. It's still very sensible. I think, in my mind, I'm thinking it could be about locking in some deals, really starting to plan ahead, but trine Uranus and the node, that's really interesting. Like looking ahead and planning into 2023 you could really come up with things a bit more outside the box. I'd look into next year and think about what you want and what you want to achieve. And
yeah,
yeah,
that's the positive
absolutely.
side of it, is that you can actually access creative problem solving that is wise and patient and stable, you know, but and it's also just out of the box. It's out of the box thinking with that out of bounds, so that at least there's that.
Yeah. At the same time, it's the apex of a T-square with Chiron, and the moon will move through to, on what is that, on the 17th, to activate that as well. So there is that. The Chiron just wants, in Aries, just wants to go and be impulsive. But it's, stabilize it, because this is at the apex.
Nice. Yeah.
That's my thoughts on that. And I think in the spirit of Gemini, let's keep this short and sweet.
Right.
And
right.
I hope that people let us know how all the out of bounds situation is going, what happened over the full moon. I think it's really interesting. I mean, I didn't have a major expression, except I think with the Neptune square, I was wondering if people would be teary or emotional. I personally was freaking out because I thought my cat was possibly going to die, and I was crying.
Oh my goodness.
Now it's okay. No, I feel okay, and he's okay. He's just, who knows? We take it day at a time at the moment. But I felt like that was the Neptune coming through. And my own transits, totally, my own charts picking up all these transits as well. That Neptune square was conjunct Venus and Mercury, conjunct my Venus and Mercury, which that Venus rules my 6th house of pets. And Neptune coming through, like, is he going to die? Is he going to live? I don't know. I was going to cry. It's really getting me. So, and I can't travel, it's stopping me from traveling. So that little complex. So think about it in maybe a more complex way, and you'll find the key to whatever's going on at the moment.
Excellent.
And read my book. You'll learn so much more about transits.
Yes.
Oh my
what
gosh.
a beautiful
Astro
book.
Power.
Astro Power. I love it. It's gorgeous. Yes.
Back to front on there.
It's like the trilogy is complete. Yeah.
Well, actually, I want to make one more. So
okay.
I do for this series, and then
I really want to acknowledge you for helping. I love how easy that book is for people who are new to astrology, that just jump on, and it eliminates this problem of overwhelm and freak out. And it's like, here, we can just step on that train, and it's easy, and you get going. And then the next book, Cosmic Power, elaborates on that more. And then this one is an even deeper level. I love how you just gently and easily peel back the onion for people. You can't go wrong, people. You can't go
wrong. You can only go right. Fly the friendly way with 5 times Sag astrologer, right? So this is a bit deeper, actually. Irlianna, you nailed it. This is getting deeper. It's definitely more dense. There is a lot in this. I did a lot of extra research. It's more history. There's more about the myths. It's really settling you in and grounding and opening up the planets, the archetypes, the myths that informed the myths as well. Don't just stop at Greece. It was so misogynist. You do not want to stop the train there. But it also has a lot of richness. So yes.
Awesome. Congratulations on that achievement.
Thank you.
You worked so hard on that. I tried to get Vanessa on earlier this year. She's like, no, I'm busy. I'm still writing. I was like, okay, dude, it's all right. Just whatever. It
was really intense. I think I need some body work on my body. Haven't recovered from it yet, actually. So get the whole series, get the trilogy. But definitely get this one. Yeah, it's nice. Transits. And then you'll know what everyone's talking about, and you have to put it together yourself.
Right. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much again for joining us. Yay. And the links are below, and Cosmic Power, Star Power, Cosmic Power, Astro Power, Power. All right.
Go buy the books. They're great for gifting as well. They're handbooks. They're very affordable because they're mass. They're very beautiful because they're mass. So the company can afford to. Yeah, very pretty, beautiful artist. The same one as my first book.
Yes. Nice.
Yes, check it out. And happy holidays, everyone. Enjoy Sag season.
Happy holidays.
Out of bounds of the sun, which I wrote a section on out of bounds in there as well.
Cool. Excellent. Thank you so much. And we will see you soon. And everybody, we will be back again very soon with the next edition of StarSound Speaks. Irlianna Samsara here, signing off for now. Have a great one. Bye for now.
Stay cosmic.
Stay cosmic.